Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Objectively portion of the show. And I'm John Mauricio. This afternoon, I have a very, very important guest. Something close to my heart. He's from Dallas, Texas. He is from South Carolina. He's from France. He is from Princeton, New Jersey. Hey, help me welcome Professor John C. Bednar, the author of the book People's President.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome to
Pleasure to be here.
to our show, John. People's President in the Nation's Service. What's that mean?
Well, this edition of this book is the second edition. I published a first edition of it many years ago when I started writing it when I was teaching at Berkeley, and sold it to a number of my classmates from Princeton when I published it the first time. And then I went back to my 50th year reunion at Princeton 2 years ago, and a number of my classmates who had read the first edition said, John, given the political situation in the United States today, with Trump, who was beginning to get into the scene seriously, they said, you should rewrite this book and modernize it because the subject matter is very important. And so I did. And so that's the result of this edition is a revised edition of the one I did, oh, good grief, a long, long time ago. And in the nation's service is a Princeton thing. The new protagonist in this book is a professor from Princeton. The original was a professor of French from Berkeley.
That's him. That's him. All right.
Well, in fiction, you can do what you want. And every Princeton University has a phrase that it repeats, the professors repeat it, the alumni repeat it in speeches that they give. And Woodrow Wilson, who was the president of Princeton, is the origin of this phrase. And the simple phrase that is repeated all the time is Princeton in the nation's service. And it took me a while as an undergraduate to understand what that really meant, and what it really means is, hey, here you are, you're in one of the best universities in the United States. You had better give back something that you're getting here. Serve the nation. Serve people. Be a servant to the public. So that's where in the nation's service comes from.
How personal is your book? Look like.
Well, it is and it isn't. Of course, a lot of this, every writer, I think, puts stuff from his or her own life into works that they write. And a little bit of me is in there, but the protagonist that I invent is so far superior to me, Joe, that that's again, like I said, that's one of the beauties of fiction. You can do what you want. And so I invented my own superhero, and it's not me. It's an invented person.
You are idealistic and yet practical professor teaching all this French?
Business French.
Business French. So what do you get out of that? Being idealistic, being practical political science professor?
Well,
is there
in a way that's a hard question to answer, because I don't know if Bernie Sanders were sitting here, you could say, Bernie, you could ask him the same question.
Yeah.
When you're an idealist, I think it's just part of your nature, Joe, and that's part of my nature. In another questionnaire that I got, this person asked me, John, what is your favorite political movie? What is your favorite political TV show? And what is your favorite political book? And I said, Dr. Strangelove, Madam Secretary, and Plato's Republic.
Yes. Yeah. Plato's Republic. Yes.
So I don't know whether that answers your question. Yes, I'm an idealist.
Yeah. It's like a oxymoron.
It is. It is.
You know.
It is.
But Well, do you think people will take this book seriously?
I hope they do. And I think it's going to have a long lifetime, because there are two things in this book that I wrote that I keep coming back to in my own idealism. And those two things are, one, there's too much money in politics. There is just too much money in politics. And two, in the book, which I'm assuming you've read, when my hero gets interviewed in front of a TV camera, and the person interviewing him says, "What do you have to say out there to the people out there who might vote for you?" He looks at the camera and he says, "I don't want you to vote for me." And then he pauses and looks right at the camera, and I'm going to look right at that camera, and he says, "Unless you're willing to be a better citizen."
Wow, that's heavy.
That is heavy, but he throws, see, and as you know, he takes money out of it. He has a campaign of no money, or practically no money. And so the message he sends out is folks, if our democracy is in the situation that it's in, we are all collectively responsible for it.
Plato's Republic.
Plato's Republic. And so, if we want to solve the problem, if we want to change things for the better, then we're going to have to assume more civic responsibility individually, all across the board, everyone. So, yeah, I think the book
Yeah, they'll take it.
should
I'll
be
take
taken
this thing
seriously.
seriously. Well, going back to politics, do you think America is ready for a third political party?
I certainly do. I absolutely do. I think that, again, money has gotten to be so important
Yeah.
for both the Republicans and the Democrats that a third party that would have less money, again, I'm being an idealist, but I think there's a place for an independent party that could broker good things for America with the other two parties. Yes, I do think that we have room for a third party. Yes.
Well, we mentioned, well, this coach from Alabama is getting a ridiculous amount of money per year. Do you think are we ready to challenge the power of money?
Well, sadly, I'm
Oh.
not sure that we are.
Uh-huh.
I think that the big god of money has gotten so important in a lot of people's minds that it's going to be a difficult task. But I think there are some things that could be practically done that would at least open the door for civic-minded Americans who want to do something about money and politics. I think that the Supreme Court decision to let corporations spend as much money as they want on politics could be revoked. That could be changed. The rules could be changed a little bit to help the situation somewhat. But the answer to your question, that's why I'm waffling a little bit in answering it, is that strong leaders simply do have to come forward and be those citizens that are being responsible citizens and show other people and lead them down that path, as opposed to buckling to the power of money.
Do you think that Trump is a strong leader with his money and everything?
No, I don't think Trump is a strong leader. I think Trump is a very disturbed man. And I think that, and of course, like I told you, I was in the business world for a certain amount of time myself. And anybody who is very successful in the business, almost anybody who is very successful in the business world will tell you that honesty pays a whole lot more than dishonesty. Fair dealing with people good dealing, making deals that are very positive for both parties, is good business. And my knowledge of Trump so far is that he has not really measured up to that standard.
Well, there will be a lot of people reading this book.
I hope so.
And what can you say to them personally after reading the book?
I would say, if you got anything out of this, share it with other people. Do what we were just talking about a second ago. Become a little bit more of an idealist. And practically
Practically.
apply some of that idealism to your civic responsibilities and just talk about it. Talk about this subject. This is an important subject. It's been an important subject in my mind for over 45 years now. And so I think that's what I would have to say to them.
So, what would press get a benefit from this book? The press itself.
The press?
Yes.
Well, the press has a lot to learn too. I mean,
Yeah.
after all, we've seen.
According to Trump, they're all fake.
Yeah, well, but there is a reality that is indisputable in American life today. The press is pretty much influenced by the
Well.
god of money, and that's pretty obvious. When I was growing up, there wasn't any television, and then television came along, and then the computer came along, and then social media came along, and then in that whole process, 24-hour news programs came along. Well, when you
See.
have 24-hour news programs, you got to have people who will pay for that.
Exactly.
And so, in searching for sources of money to keep that endeavor going, you have to sell the news. And so, in many respects, there is a valid criticism, I think, that can be made of the civic responsibility of the news media because of its being influenced by money.
Ethical? Are they ethical enough to?
Well, you have to pick and choose. You have to choose there. I mean, some are more ethical than others.
I have one last question about the future of America. Are you optimistic or pessimistic?
Unfortunately, I've been an optimist most of my life. But today, no. Unfortunately, I have to admit that I'm fairly pessimistic about the future of my country because this idealism of mine that we've been talking about and the subject of this book that really are strong passions still in my mind. I don't see much evidence of some of that idealism showing up. It's not happening very much.
Well, you have the last word, and what can you really say to the viewers that watching us today? I want you guys to buy this book, read about it, be idealistic or be practical. Again.
And actually, Joe just took the words out of my mouth. So that's really all I would have to say too. I hope you enjoy the book if you read it, and I hope it provokes some good discussions between you and the people you know.
Boy, I like discussion. I like talking about things like this, and I hope that this book will stimulate your mind. Let's talk about this book. Give me a call at 773-866-0811 or call John Bednar. And where can they get this book?
They can get it on Amazon. They can get it at Barnes & Noble. They can get it at Archway Publishing. Just go. If you Google The People's President by John Bednar, you can find a place to buy it. And one of the things that if you're a student, and this is going to sound commercial, but you will see that it isn't, is that the e-version of this book only costs $2.99.
Oh my goodness.
So it's not an expensive book. On the e-version, the paperback is a little more expensive than that, but students could buy this, or anybody can buy it, the e-version, for just $2.99.
Well, again, my time is up, and I just want to thank my idealistic and practical political science professor. Thank you very much for
Thank you
sharing
very
this Sunday
much.
with us. And I really enjoy this book and the discussion. Again, marami pong salamat. Mabuhay.